Tell me.
uh, During holidays also we'll have ERC, so will it be at the center or only online, or is it like both at center we'll have and at
There's
the
a form that Jyoti ma'am, there's a timetable that Jyoti ma'am has released, right?
no, I didn't see any time.
So just ping her, okay? Just ping her and ask for it again, but she has released it already. Okay. So, for example, during holidays, you'll have it at the center as
Both.
well as online classes, right? Both will be happening. You can join either, but it's better to join the offline classes.
Okay.
What if we are giving both NIFT and NID? Which paper do we do
So
today?
priority, you will answer the paper that's your priority, and then at home later on you'll answer the other one.
So do I fill the attendance for only the one that I'm doing or for both?
Yes, for the one that you're doing. Okay. So the paper that
Ma'am,
has been, bolo.
I was attending this paper right now before class.
Good. Okay. But in 75 minutes, do all the
I've
drawing
question.
questions. Huh? What?
We
I have already finished the first, what do you say, the first rough sketches. I'm on the
Okay,
last
then you can
question for the
finalize them.
fine. I'll
Then you can find.
finalize.
So your run one is done, then do run two. What somebody else was saying something?
For the first question, they've told to draw with respect to the door. So is it
Hmm.
perspective again?
Yes.
Perspective with reference to the door, or and can we place the characters wherever we want?
Yeah, obviously. For architecture, the link is the same as the NID students. It's the NID 2021 paper. And PG students will also be doing that paper. It's a good paper. Yeah. Somebody was saying something.
Can you resend the link now?
I can resend the link 1 second. हाँ देखो एक बार.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you have already started. Tejas has started. Charvi, can you please contact Miss Jyoti or Mr. Venkat about this inability to access, because it's getting a little tough, sort of, um, you know, 1 second. Do you want me to share their contact numbers?
No, ma'am.
Okay, 1 second. I'll put Venkat sir's contact number because this is getting a little tough to do, है ना?
I mean, I can access the architecture ones, but an ID and NIFT ones, it's like you have to get the access or buy the whole course.
Hmm. This is Venkat sir's number. Okay.
Miss, I have a doubt. For the first
हाँ.
question, when they say in respect to the door, do they mean
Hmm.
from, like, if you're looking through the door?
No,
Then?
obviously not. With respect to door in terms of size, now see something if it's far away, then it appears smaller, right? So the door, if it's far away, it's appearing this big, right? So whatever's closer will be bigger, right?
Okay, so the door should be at the same point that they have shown in
Yes,
the question.
absolutely. You cannot change where the door is. Do not do that, okay? So
So
in
this
your
is
A4 sheet, The positioning of the door has to be on in the same place.
So is this strictly portrait or can it be done in landscape?
Obviously, it's strictly portrait, right? Because if you make it landscape, then the door changes, right? So it'll, like, where is the door gonna be, on the wall? No, nah. Very strictly stick to it. Portrait. Very strictly. So anyone who is not able to access, I'm putting the screenshots in the chat. And for question number 1, keep the placement of the door the same on your A4 sheet. For question number 2, make sure the proportion of the rectangles that you are drawing is accurate to the proportion of the rectangles that are given in the question. For question number 3, also keep the proportion of the rectangles the same. Yes? Make sure that that's accurate. Same goes for question number 4 as well. And full page answers. Okay, full page answers. So every square, every box doesn't need to be a new page, but every answer at least should have one full page done. And minimal writing, because after 300 people giving you the answer for the same question, they're not going to spend much time reading the answers. Instead, they're going to focus on what your drawings are like and how deeply, how detailed your drawings are and how well they explain whatever's happening, right? So that is why it's important to keep the writing to a minimum. So, which one should you attend if you're enrolled in both? The exam that is your priority. For example, if NIFT is your priority, do that paper. If NID is your priority, do that paper and fill the same attendance as that, right? And then later at home by yourself, you can sit and do the other paper. Okay, don't do the MCQ questions right now. Do the sketching questions right now. And for people who are attempting the NID paper, you have 75 minutes, and we started this like, let's say, like 6 minutes ago, let's say, right? So 8:55 tak you should be properly done. Okay, 8:55 tak you should be properly done. For the people who are attending the NEFT paper, you will have an hour and a half as run one, right? So an hour and a half from 7:40 would be 8:40, 9:10. Okay. So for question number 1, it says, be very strict about the what the question says. As per my understanding, it can either you can include yourself in the drawing or you can do it from your own POV as well. Sunaina, Yuvraj, Charvi, have you guys um, filled the attendance?
Yes,
Tejas,
Yes, ma'am.
Aditi, Diya, Nakshatra,
Yes,
Ramesh,
ma'am.
Shruti, Sia, hmm? Sia,
Yes, ma'am.
Nandana, Archana, Khushbu, Varsha, Nandini, Prashasti, have you guys filled the attendance?
Yes, ma'am.
Mehak, Srimulya, Riti, Aisha, Varsha, Adya.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay,
Ma'am,
good.
can you send the link again?
Okay. Guys, you all still have not filled the attendance. That's the first thing that you need to do because the forms are going to close in a little bit. So that needs to be filled first. Right? Please, please, please divide your time properly. Divide your time according to the fact that you have to finish run one of this paper by 8:55 and NIFT people have to finish run one by 9:10. Right? So everybody who is doing the NIFT paper, you need to divide the number of questions, and according to the number of marks, you have to divide how much time you're going to spend on one question and follow that very strictly because strategy is quite important. Okay, so I'm gonna check back in with you in 5 minutes, but I want to know first of all, Prashasti, Nandini, Varsha, any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Ankita, Srivolya,
No, ma'am.
Tejas,
No, no.
Mehak, Archana, Devanshi, okay, Archana, what about you?
No doubts, ma'am.
Okay. Aisha, Vriti, Tejal,
No, ma'am.
Aditi, Dishita, Rahini,
No,
Harshnil, any
ma'am.
questions?
No, ma'am.
Sara, Isma, Adya,
No, no.
okay. Nandini, Ramesh, Sia, any questions, guys?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Anybody else, any questions? Have you all filled the form? Just give me a thumbs up if you're done filling the attendance form. Okay, that's good. I think most people are done. 16 people have said yes. What about everybody else? Out of the 34, 16 people have said yes. 17, 18 people have said yes. Okay. Okay, fine. ठीक है. Do one thing. Keep in mind that you have to finish this your first run of the paper by 8:55 or by 9:10. Okay? Keep dividing the time and keep an eye on it. I will ask. Okay, so just a brief on because some people just joined. Please take note of the links that I'm putting in the chat. Um, and if you require the screenshots, that's also possible. First thing is that the NID, if you are attempting the NID paper, you should be done with your run one by 8:55. So you have to divide the time accordingly and spend like the allotted amount of time for every question. So depending on the weightage of the question, please decide how long you're going to spend on that question, and by the end of it you should be done by 8:55 so we can start reviewing your run one stuff, right? So that's there. For question one in NID, the you have to do it in portrait. You cannot do it in landscape because the door would not be straight anymore if you did it in landscape. Do it in portrait. That's why. When it says do it in draw the stuff in proportion to the door, it means that the door is far away and it looks smaller. So everything that's a little bit closer will look bigger, right? That's one thing. And that and in that question try to come up with the most interesting story you possibly can. Don't try to keep it minimal. Try to go for something that has a little bit of story, and also keep in mind that the laptop in front of you on which you are taking the class also has a camera, right? So when you are doing like the in the sketch, you could show some stuff happening in the camera as well. So you can show not just one view of something, but both views. So that's one thing. and try to make the story as interesting as possible. And there's a lot of space left for you to do some amount of setup and stuff like that, right? So the environment should also reflect the kind of characters that live over there. Okay. Then for question number 2, 3, 4, all of those questions where there are boxes given where you will be drawing stuff. First of all, try to make the box as big as possible on your A4 sheets, right? Try to push yourself to draw as big as possible because it is very important to be able to cover as much area as possible. That's one thing. It also forces you to speed up. And then another thing is the a proportion of the box that is given in the question. Try to keep the proportion of the borders of the box that you make, keep it the same as that. That matters a lot. Please pay attention to the proportions and keep the proportions the same. Another thing is, see, this person, whoever's correcting it, or whoever, whichever people are correcting it, they're going to be correcting 100 papers, not 100, 300, 400, 500, who knows how many papers, right? They are they are least bothered about what we've written. So you could write the best story, but if your visuals do not show that story happening, then you need to reconsider how you've put down the visuals, right? So make sure the visuals themselves explain what is happening in the story. Okay, so the visuals have to explain what's happening in the story rather than relying on the writing part of it. That's one thing. And also, whenever some place is given for you to sketch something, try to cover 75 to 80% of that area so that the rest of it, like between 10 to 20% of it, can be the negative space. Now, what is negative space? Negative space is important for you to see. Negative space is the blank area that you leave, right? And it tends to add some validity to whatever it is you've drawn, right? It makes, because it gives it, your objects on the paper some amount of room to breathe, and that's very important. Okay, so negative space is important. And then there's this one thing where if we look at an image, you need to pay attention to where your eye goes immediately when you look at an image, right? That's what your eyes have deemed the most important. So that spot is where your most important part of the story should be, right? So be very conscious about where the eye goes, right? That, and also there's a thing called hierarchy. So hierarchy, depending on the thickness of some lines, depending on how much area something covers or how concentrated some shading is, you can tell which part of the frame is the most important, who is the main character, what is the main purpose, stuff like that, right? So if there is any storyboarding question, make sure your story is pretty solid, but also make sure that your compositions are very unique and very interesting and the best way to compose the scene that you could have come up with, right? So for an interesting composition, it's good to have a light source. And once you have a light source, you will have your shade and shadow and texture. So having and picking out a light source will give you some amount of shade, some amount of shadow, some amount of texture, right? And it will tell you where to put these things. And also, if you want to add some amount of depth into your drawing, put something in the foreground, in the middle ground, and in the background, right? So that feels like, okay, there is a lot of depth in this question. So for example, in the NID wala question, the door is there, but there can be stuff behind the door also. Maybe a kid is peeking out, maybe something's just crawled into the room, something, whatever it is. So you can add stuff beyond that also, but for the moment, that's in the background, right? So what's in the middle ground and what's in the foreground? Okay, so that question, keep in mind, you can do it from POV perspective also, or you could do it from like a third party perspective also, that they are watching you attend your class, right? So okay, so cover 80% of the sheet. Add a light source, shade, shadow, texture is important. And add something in the foreground, middle ground, background. Try to add colors, do some shading, do some textures, right? And pick a very interesting composition and try to add movement to the entire thing. And I think you'll come up with some very interesting answers. Um, what else? What else? What else? So even if you recently joined these classes, it doesn't matter. Please do attend the paper, do the paper, try to finish it in time, record what your observations are, try to write down notes for yourself. Those things are really important. Then try to grade yourself, try to keep a note of what all you liked within your own paper so that you can replicate it for the other papers that you do as well. right? Um, for the moment, I think that's all. Any questions? Adya, Yuvraj, Varsha, Ananya, Rahini, any questions?
No.
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Aditi, Dishita, Sara, Isma, any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Archana, Devanshi, Vriti, Khushbu, Ankita, Srimulya, any questions?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Marva, Tejas, Nandana, Varsha, Prashasti, any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Olive, Nandana.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So everyone started. Please give me a thumbs up if you all have started. Okay, good. Very good.
I'm just rendering all it.
ठीक है.
I'm just having some ideation problem for the last question.
Hmm.
Like, I'm having difficulty. Like, how will what kind of story will with that black ball and that?
See, generally with if there's only three frames and there's only two characters, try to write a story that is very minimal in the way that you should be able to explain the entire story in three sentences so that each frame can have one sentence, right? That's one thing. And then also see there's this thing called a three-act structure that you can use for very easy story writing, right? So what does that do? So basically it says that to come up with a very simple story, you can divide your story into three parts. So, in the first part, you would have some sort of introduction to the character, meaning for the characters, you can have one characteristic, one quirky characteristic each that introduces us to the character and makes us be like, okay, I kind of know this character now. That's the first thing that happens in the first one third of the story, and a little bit about the setting. Where are they? What is happening? Stuff like that, right? This you should be able to explain in one sentence itself. Then, in the middle of the story, what happens is some circumstance happens where the hero is not able to walk away from it. Now, see, if there's a problem and a hero is able to walk away from it or ignore it, or it's not big enough that it doesn't require an immediate solution, then the problem is not big enough, and even the reader can be like, okay, this is not a big enough problem, moving on to the next
Mm.
story, right? But the problem
Mm.
should be such that the hero is not able to walk away from it, that it forces the hero to confront him, right? So
Mm.
then the hero is pushed into a very um like pressurized position, right? So the hero is
Mm.
under a lot of pressure then, and then the hero starts to become the kind of person that is able to solve this problem, like they're able to do the work that is required to solve this problem, right? And then in the last one third of the story, right? So if you're writing a story for only three frames, then you should have only three sentences. That's the best way, right? Then in the last sentence, in the last frame, in the last one third of the story, what happens? The hero either wins or loses, right? But they definitely learn something, right? They definitely
Oh,
learn
yeah.
something, and they either win or they lose. Sometimes they even die. Okay, but some knowledge is gained and something is learned. And then after that, after the climax, the everything starts to calm down and there's the resolution.
Mm.
है ना? So try to put a story together, right? Without too many things in it. Try to put a story together that satisfies all of these things. Okay. And once
Yeah.
you do that a couple of times, you'll see that the stories will start to get better.
Okay.
So it's always, see, at one point you won't need a structure anymore. The story will come by itself, right? But for the beginning, if you want to learn a little bit, then it's always good to have a ladder that you can climb, right? So some structure is good. Use the structure for a while. It will give you some useful stories. And then after that, the stories will start to create themselves. Okay.
Okay.
Story writing is also, and story generation is also a practice. It takes a little bit of practice for that. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Let me see. Third NIFT question, what is it? Do we draw the instruments as a, obviously not. You do not have to draw the instrument as a living creature. Um, do not draw the instruments as living creatures. You can change the shape, size, color, pattern, all of those things, but don't make it into a person. Okay. Depict it in any four festivals using the four boxes below, right? But do not change, like, do not make it into a person and do not make it a living creature. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Varsha, Sunayana, Khushbu, any questions?
No, ma'am.
No.
Okay. Anybody else? Because then after this, I'll give you like 10 minutes of peace where you can sit and, like, answer your entire paper as fast as possible. Any other questions?
Which question did you just answer now? Like, should we make some characters? Which question is that?
So Devanshi has asked, ki the third question of the NIFT paper, do we draw the instruments as living characters
Okay,
or just
NIFT.
show?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Hmm.
Got it, ma'am.
Any other questions? Vritti, Isma, anybody? Okay, I'm assuming not, but I'm right here. Please do ask if there's any questions. Yes? And okay, Yuvraj, the first image that you've sent is the the X's and O's wala. Huh, wait. Not yet. This. Okay. It's interesting. Did you keep the proportions of the frames the same as was given in the question? I don't think so. Right? You changed the
Which
proportion.
question?
The X's and O's wala questions.
Ah,
Question.
yeah.
You changed the
Yeah, it's
proportion
a
when I
bit.
clearly mentioned not to. Right? So please, it is not a suggestion. Please keep the proportion the same. Right? Then the next image
Yeah.
that you have sent, see, the story is, again, it's not your best work. I think you need to work on story construction a little bit more. And similarly
Okay.
goes for the ball and the cloud wala situation also. I think we have to start making it such that the image shows what is happening in the story rather than the rather than the written part of it, right?
Okay.
The images have to show what's happening in the story, not the written part. Okay. I like this one that you've done where the
Acha.
sibling comes in,
Yeah.
but the door is not open the same amount as it was open in the question. Okay. So be very careful
It was
about
just a
that.
bit confusing for me. That's it. Just a bit.
Keep the door the same, this thing, right? Because there it's going to be printed, so you're going to draw in the neighboring spaces, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, with the bullying wala poster, the way that you've written friend is,
Yeah, my fault, my fault. My
yeah,
bad.
and not a bully wala Y also is very strangely done. But I like
Oh.
the way that the human is drawn. That's quite nice. Similarly, with the chai wala thing, none of y'all seem to boil the chai. Like chai patti, pani, and sugar cube,
No,
and
though I
that's
have
it.
written the water is hot water.
Yeah, oh my God,
No, no, that
congratulations.
water.
Where? Where is the hot water?
No, that water which I've put, no, that blue,
Yeah.
that is actually heated.
How am I supposed to know that?
Okay, fine. I should have made it more bigger, the eating part. It's like it's
Okay.
eaten.
With bullying posters, we get the same poster quite a lot, Rahini. The person stepping on another person type of bullying poster. Today itself in class, I saw two done by people sitting opposite each other. So it happens quite a lot. That same poster, same idea comes through. Nakshatra, the chai wala has come out quite nice. Okay. I would encourage you to work on speed even more and sort of get to the like finalization aspect of it faster. I really like the sibling wala thing also, but I think that you can add more of a story to it. I think you can definitely add more of a story, meaning that the sibling did something and then that caused something and then that caused something, right? So I think that would be interesting. I really like your the ball and the cloud wala. The story is not clear, but I love the sand dunes, the way that you've drawn them, right? So that's quite nicely done, and I like that the framing is different in each one of them, and the frames are not three of the same frames, right? But I think you can do more with the stop bullying wala poster. I think it doesn't invoke that feeling of, yeah, this is wrong. It invokes a feeling of very like, okay, fine, she's drawn a bullying ka poster, right? So I think I would work on that one a little bit. Just, determine what kind of thing causes people to feel like, have emotions about something, right? Then
Okay,
next
ma'am.
one is then Varsha's sketch is next. Mm, and so we've seen this one also before where the sibling has thrown a plane and it's come and hit you, right? So that is one thing. And also the door has changed a little bit. Guys, everyone try to make sure that your answers don't appear on anybody else's answer sheet, right? That's quite important to make sure that your answers do not appear on anybody else's answer sheet. Okay. Another thing was that, you could have turned this person to, like the sibling who is attending the class, could have been turned with their back to us so we can see what's happening on their camera also, right? So if one view we can see that the plane is flying towards them, and in the camera we can see that the plane is very close to them and their reflection, their expression is there in the camera. So I think try to play with the angles of the entire thing a little bit more. Okay. Then coming to your for every finger you point to bully someone, three fingers point to you. I think it's a bit simplistic. I don't really think it's a poster. Okay, it's just a statement and there's a hand in the image, right? So I would try to look up posters and study posters, especially see print materials. They can ask you any type of print materials. They can ask you posters, they can ask you brochures, they can ask you postcards, they can ask you um, st- one second. Okay, sorry about that. So I would look up posters, brochures. Please write this down, everybody. Posters, brochures, stamps, postcards, like any sort of like invites and things like that, tickets and just print materials like that are very important to keep in mind and know how to do them. Postcard, for example, or stamps, for example, right? You need to know how those things work. So it's good to please research them. And it seems that I keep repeating the same thing again and again, is that, add something in the background and in the middle ground, but that doesn't happen. For example, in this poster, it hasn't really, like, there's a hand in the foreground, but there's nothing in the background and in the middle ground, whereas backgrounds are quite important, right? If you don't have stuff in the background, it comes off very one-dimensional. But the moment you are adding stuff, you are taking a light source, right? And you are using the light source to give you a shade, shadow, and texture, and you're using the light source to give you some amount of contrast and you're using the background space and you're using depth perception, the poster comes out better, right? Anything will come out 1,000 times better if those rules are followed. And they're not suggestions, they're things that you should be, ticking off every time you do a question. It will really help you make sure that it's a very three-dimensional answer that you're giving, right? And everybody, let's all please work on story construction by yourself also. It's very, very important. And right now it's not at that level that we want it to be. So I would highly push you to try these questions again. Try them 3 times, 4 times. Okay. And you'll see that one of those answers will truly stand out. Okay. Similarly, for the X's and the O's one, I think that I would concentrate on this is whose? This is Varsha's. Concentrate on coming up with a really good story because a really good story can justify almost anything. Okay. So, okay, Aditi, nice. But Aditi, did you read the question? Because I think it's supposed to
Yeah,
be a
uh,
sibling.
no, I have to draw myself, which I do it from my perspectives.
Yeah, but your sibling is annoying you, right? In the question.
Yeah, if you can see in the mirror in the background, my sibling is like annoying me, and you can also see it in the video.
Okay, but that's okay. That was hard to tell. See, I couldn't recognize that, which means that the
Yeah.
viewer, if they're, so it needs to become a little bit more obvious.
Okay.
Ah, okay. Nice. Interesting. Nicely done. Okay. Harshnil, the chai one is quite nice. It's too much letters, yeah, too many words are there, right? If there's a presentation, if there's that many words, generally we don't read, है ना? Okay. So keep that in mind. Try to keep the words to a minimum. But I really like your that sibling wala sketch. Quite nicely done. I really like it. The shade shadow is quite nice. I would say add more of a story to it because I think the more of a story you add to it, the easier it becomes for us to sort of like, I as a person or anybody will not have to question it when they're giving you marks for it, right? And all of those parameters, once the story comes together and you've already done the shadow texture, there is not much of a gap that's left, right? So, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
See, yeah, the don't bully wala poster is a little bit generic. It's turned out very similar to a lot of other posters that we see. Okay. So I want you to make sure that your answers are not appearing on other people's papers. Okay. Then, similarly with the cloud wala question, I feel like a lot of time has gone into the writing part of it, whereas the drawing has we've been taking away a little bit of time from that, and so it hasn't been able to bloom in that way. So I would give less time to the writing and more time to the drawing. Okay. And with the sibling wala question, I want you to practice as many human figures as possible because there's a little bit of ways to go there. Okay. Okay. Next, Aditi. So the chai wala question that you've put, I like it. I will say that the amount of writing that has been done kind of takes away from the power of the visuals, right? Um, Look at Varsha's chai wala question. It's quite nicely done. But it's the same pan again and again. It's been drawn 3 times. Whereas you could have drawn the pan from the top and then show the ingredients very easily swirling in and stuff like that. I think that also will help quite a lot, right? So instead of drawing the same pan, nice. Okay, so instead of drawing the same pan 3 times, I think I would draw it once and then add everything to that one pan, right? So, guys, you all need to practice compositions. That will genuinely help. That's, you know, that's what's missing. Ananya Bhargav, I want you to check the perspective on the yeah, sibling wala question. Check the perspective on that. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
And the X's and O's wala, I like the way that you've positioned it. Okay. I had seen it earlier also. The story, I think you can work a little bit more on. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
But okay, good. Charvi, same thing for the this X's and O's wala, na? The way that you've rounded off the edges, we see that quite a lot actually. So I want you to work on your framing a little bit. Okay.
And
And similarly for the cloud one, all three frames are very similar to each other, right?
hmm, I made it like the cloud maybe too, far. Then I made the whole structure very small. I mean, it was given the question that only these things can be used. So, I mean,
Yeah.
how to position?
But you can reframe it differently, right? Would you watch a movie where the framing is always the same and the camera doesn't move?
How could I have I like done it differently?
So, see, all I'm saying is change the way that the camera is positioned, right? Move the way the camera is positioned. So, if you're taking the shot from here, next one you can take from the cloud's perspective. Next one you can take from the ball's perspective, or you can take it from somewhere in mid-air. It doesn't always have to be the same, like, same height and everything, right? है ना? Look up compositions, do composition practice, and sketch compositions every day. 15, 20, 30, 35, as many as possible. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Vritti, I want you to add more of a story to the sibling wala thing, because you see a lot of the answers that we've all gotten are the same answers again and again, right? So I want you to diversify your answers as much as possible. But I really like your this Kanika, can you mute it please? So I really like your the bullying wala poster. Okay, it's quite nicely done. And yeah, no other complaints as such, nothing like that. Um, okay. Then who is next? Is Nayana is here? Okay, fine. Just 1 second. Okay. So for the X's and O's wala, see all five of those frames have turned out to be the same. All five of those frames are the same, right? So I would try to diversify what the frame looks like. And
Like the
Archana,
angle of it?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. So you have to move the camera to increase our interest in the story. Okay. Archana, when they say they wanted you to come up with those like webinars, right? See, you could have what they were hoping for was for you to reinvent how the webinar is conducted. So you could have one answer I saw today was she was doing the webinar in a virtual reality space, right? So they didn't want you to make one of something that already exists or something that's very close to already existing. They wanted you to sort of experiment with it a little bit and give them a wild idea, right? Um, okay, Kavya, the okay, I want you to work on humans, like the way that human perspective works. I want you to work on that. Try to sketch as much as possible and correct that as much as possible. Because the thing that's happening with the legs right now, the issue that's happening with the legs are bending at the wrong spot, that won't happen then.
Yeah.
And same thing goes for Sunaina. The siblings wala sketch that you've done, if you draw as many human faces as possible, you won't have that that ridge that's happening over here that's not really letting it feel like a human face, right? That won't happen then. Those little things will start to clean themselves up if we practice humans as much as possible. Okay. Um Okay. Kavya, the X's and O's wala story, I would try it like two, three more times. Okay. And I would try to diversify the story a little bit more. The way that you come up with stories, I would try to include a couple of different aspects, like different perspectives, right? And try to come up with something a little bit more unique because we've seen this story. If you scroll up, we've seen that same story. They help each other out. The X helps O out, or O helps X, or they had a fight, or like one negative point, and then we sort of sort that out, and then they're ready to play the game. Stuff like that we've seen a little bit. So I want you to try and diversify the story a little bit, okay?
Yes.
Um, the cloud one I like. Cloud one is okay. It doesn't really end with much of a conclusion, but there is potential there. Okay. For the chai one, I would say don't draw the same cup again and again in the same angle. Diversify the angles. Apart from that, the steps are obviously fine. Okay.
Okay.
Then olive, the X and O wala, say two of the frames are the same. And round one draw. Okay, I'll take it. Nice. Try to add some color to it. I saw one that was somebody had done this same thing, but they had done it in a boxing ring, and the base of the floor of the boxing ring was divided into that playing wala spot, those 9 boxes, right? So you can add environment, and all the audience members were those X's and O's, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So we can do that also. Okay. Then Prashasti, the sibling irritating you while you're attending class while a question. See, the point of that question is a little bit to come up with some sort of story that really, um, you know, makes it not only relatable but also makes you want to understand just what's happening there, right? The chaos has not come through.
Right,
Same
ma'am.
goes for, tell me.
No, I'm listening to you. Yeah.
Huh. Same goes for Aisha also. So where she's raising her hand, it kind of feels like she's holding the kid like that. Okay. So I'd be very, very, very sure about where I put things in what perspective, because it looks like she's holding up the kid like that. Okay. Um, and I would diversify the framing of the clouds and the charcoal, whatever this thing story, because the basically all of her framing for that question have turned out the same. Right. And stop bullying wala poster, most of them have also turned out the same. Either he's somebody stepping on him, or there's a bunch of hands pointing at him, or he's getting pulled in a couple of directions. It's pretty much we have the same image of bullying in our head. But I want to um, get a little bit closer than that, make it more understandable than that, and give the viewer a reason to be like, no, wait, actually, that's not correct. And illustrate that reason properly, right? Okay. So, Shruti, the siblings all a question. I like the way that you've drawn it. I think we can definitely add a little bit more of a story, but I think you focused a lot on the illustration part of it, and I really like it. It's turned out really nice. Okay. Um, the T one is also fine, no issues at all. Olive, we need to work a little bit more on human figures. Okay. And
Yes, ma'am.
try to come up with a more elaborate story for the cloud wala question, and I think that would solve the problem of coming up with interesting things to put in the frame. Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, my two questions were like just below the perspective question. I think you missed them.
I don't think I missed them. I don't think it has.
Ma'am, then could you please like tell me again what you said about that?
Yeah, I did speak about it. So, what I said about your sibling wala question was that it's fine, it needs more of a story, because the point of this question was that you have to add some sort of a story that makes it not only relatable, ki your sibling is irritating you while you're attending a class, but it also makes it funny and you want to know what is happening in that house of chaos, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And for the X's and O's, well, I had said that you need to diversify the coming up of, coming up with stories a little bit more, because we've done the same type of story again and again, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think that, like I had, if you heard me earlier about the three-act structure and how to come up with easy stories and stuff like that,
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
the three-act structure and try to come up with a story that really pulls all of these things together. And I think it'll work.
Okay.
Okay. Acha, just a note for the people who have gotten their review already. If anybody is here who's gotten their review, you're okay to leave. You don't have to stay. Okay. Okay, then moving on to Tejas. So, Tejas, for the T question, there is a lot of writing that has happened, right? There's a lot of writing that has happened, and I would not do that, or I would avoid writing as much as possible. The instructions have to, like, it's supposed to be visual instructions. That's why they asked you for visuals, right?
Okay,
And
yes.
then coming up with the cloud wala question, the frames are all very similar to each other, and a lot of us have come up with the same, either shade or rain, or the ball was traveling a long distance and it was very sunny. Let's move past these couple of first few topics that come to mind, and let's try to come up with a story that's something else. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Then for the next one, the stop bullying one again, posters require something in the background and the middle ground as well. A poster doesn't just end in the foreground, and you are required to add things in the background as well. And posters generally require color, so you should have at least started a little bit with the color aspect of it. Okay.
Okay, yes.
My poster,
Who is this?
Aisha. Oh, sorry, mine is ahead. I got confused.
Okay. Okay. And Tejas, for your sibling wala, I think you can again come up with more of a story, because see, if you scroll upwards, also a lot of us have come up with similar, very, very similar things, right?
Yes.
So I would say, think your story through completely and then start to put it on paper. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
With the X's and O's wala, it's fine. I like the way that you've come up with the way that it flows is quite good. I will say that I want you to work on your sketching a little bit more, so that you are able to explain what you are thinking a lot easier. Okay. Is Archana here? No, so we will skip. Okay, Aisha, with Every Life Matters wala poster, again, if you scroll up a little bit, we've seen some things that are very similar, right? So I want you to get a little bit closer rather than just showing that, okay, there's a person who is sitting and she's sad. I want you to show a little bit more, get a little bit more into the feelings, into the nitty-gritty of it, make us understand just exactly what's happening over there, right? And that will push the viewer to sort of get down and fight against this thing. Okay. um
Okay, ma'am.
Ananya, the chai one is quite nice. I really like it. Very well done. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chai one is very, very nice. Anybody who's gotten the review, y'all are okay to leave if you want. Harshnil, I quite like the shading. Lovely shading. Very, very nice. Very nice. Superb. Really like the shading. Yeah, and
Ma'am,
it completes the answer so well. Nice.
ma'am, can I ask a question?
Can you ask or can I ask?
No, ma'am.
Tell me.
Ma'am, about T1, like how to make the tea. So, can you give some tips on it? Like, because the question was how to, so everybody come up with more instructions and lines with. So, any way that our visual can be more powerful than, so that we
So
have to
look at
say less about the
Ananya's. The way
information.
that Ananya has gone about it is very nice because the way that her lines are is very nice. You can combine something like that with the way that Aisha has done her bullying wala poster, right? If you take those two things and you combine them and try to make it as like, see, hierarchy is very important, right? Hierarchy depends on where the I goes first, right? Hierarchy depends on where the I goes first, and you put there in bold what it is you think matters, you know, what it is you think matters for the viewer to see, right? Um, so if you're looking for things to stand out, you can not only, rely on the hierarchy, but also rely on contrast. So when you do shade, shadow, and texture, it gives you an amount of contrast that you can use to your advantage. That's one thing. And also negative space is very, very important. So these are some things, and plus the direction of the other lines. So if the lines are all directed towards one thing, if there's a superhero and there's these comic lines that are directed towards him, right, then you know he's the center of attention. You can do that same thing to this cup of chai also, right?
Yes, ma'am. One more, like, if the question is of 15 marks,
Hmm.
so I want to ask, like, how could our design or creation could, I mean, we level up to that 15 marks? Like, it should be
Okay,
more
so
detailed,
if
or it should be
something is
like mark.
15 marks, not only should there be, see, there's a couple of different kind of questions that they could ask. If it's a skill question, it will probably have fewer marks. If it's an ideation question or a problem finding question, that they can be like, okay, we've given you a thatched roof and you have to find 15 different problems that happen with it and very quickly doodle them out, right? In that case, those 15 problems all of them have to be doodled out, and it doesn't matter how you doodle it as long as it's understandable. But if there is a 15-mark question and they give you three boxes, and all three boxes you have to draw three different types of objects, then they're not looking so much for any sort of problem solving, they're looking for what your skill level is, right? So at that point, your skills, you have to show off your skills, right? So whenever
Mm.
you read a question, try to determine what the question is trying to ask you and answer accordingly.
Yes, ma'am. But it is a poster, so a poster which is informational poster actually of 15
Hmm.
marks, then uh, it should automatically take much time, or we have to. Uh,
See, you will have to take, see, if you're doing it in two runs, in the first run, you'll have to give it 10 to 15 minutes. In second run, you'll have to give it 10 to 15 minutes, right? 15 marks is a lot. Okay. So you have to make sure that you are able to properly get at least 12 or 13 out of that. So you will have to give it time. But for example, if they give you a question that's 20 marks, then obviously comparatively you will have lesser time. है ना? So it depends on what the other questions are and what their weightages are.
okay,
Ah.
ma'am.
And then you divide your time amongst those questions on the basis of how many minutes can you spend per answer, or how many minutes can you spend per mark, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? Harshnil, anything else?
Ma'am, I was uploading my T1, the T poster, except my
Huh.
phone ran out of battery, so I'm just having to wait like a few minutes for it to get to like 2-3% to take the photo.
Okay. I can check it tomorrow also. That's also just send it. That's fine. I'm here. Aditi, any questions?
Ma'am,
No, no,
Huh.
no.
if we talk about the second question, which was the X and O story, so there are six boxes in total, and the
Hmm.
question is of that same 6 marks.
Huh.
So it is like, so my question is it more based on ideation rather than more detailing, right?
Yes.
So, mm, so we are just checking the story making skill or humor, right?
Yes, not the skill at that point. Like the skill will obviously matter a little bit, but it's not the sole purpose of that question.
Okay.
Hmm.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Aisha, let me know, okay?
Yes, ma'am. I just have to take the photo right now.
Hmm.
Ma'am, I sent it.
Where?
In the chat.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, boil water, add tea leaves, let it steep. Okay, so the same pan a couple of different times, but I like the clock the way that you've done that. Okay, the best dad ever wala thing is also nice. Um, put like show visuals of the sugar and the milk, right? And the tea in the end has to be darker, right? So you could color in the entire thing and also keep in mind the flow of things. So it's going here and then it's going here and then it's going here and but then it comes to the center. But then upar it says boil water and then arrow to add tea leaves. So it's like the direction of things is a little bit upar niche. है ना? So that's very important. Make sure that you are very sure of which way the eye is supposed to flow, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other doubts?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. See you. Bye bye.
Bye, ma'am.